Alright, so everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Wreck and Rule Collection G2 Universe Autobot Leadfoot. Before we take a look at the figure, of course, let's take a look at the packaging. So on the front here, of course, we have Master Domus and Leadfoot. Of course, I will be taking a look at Master Domus in a separate review, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Over on the channel, of course, we have the Legacy logo, we have the Wreck and Rule Collection text, and of course, in the background, we do have a ton of buildings and cool bridges and stuff. Of course, on the side here, we have Transformers, and this side, we do have the Autobot Legacy artwork, and on the back, Leadfoot transforms in 18 steps from his Robot 2 race car, and Master Domus transforms in 14 steps from his Robot 2 really cool looking mammoth. And on the other side we have the Decepticon Legacy artwork, and that's pretty much it for the packaging. Before we get in the review, I do want to quickly show the Wreck and Rule Collection cardboard hammer. So let's quickly take a look at that, and then of course we'll get into the now quickly showing off the Wreck and Rule Collection cardboard hammer. It's actually pretty cool. Of course, I finally have it complete. The last piece I needed was in the Leadfoot and Master Domus pack. This was actually the base or sort of stand for the hammer, and overall I think it looks pretty cool. So of course we do have this nice yellowish orange over the entire hammer. Overall it looks pretty cool just for cardboard. And just turning it around, of course, we do have some kind of Cybertronian text on the side looking very cool. Lots of damage, a nice gray look to it. Of course, we have the huge symbol there done in gray, blackish, orange, looking very cool. And of course, unfortunately, we do have the letters. That's really, of course, to identify where the pieces go. I kind of wish that was being able to cover up. If you wanted to, you could probably get a Sharpie and cover those if you wanted to. But overall, I think the hammer looks pretty cool for just a small little included extra piece. But that's pretty much it for the hammer. Let's now get into the review for Leadfoot. We have Leadfoot in his really cool looking robot mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very front and top with that head sculpt. Some nice red for the visor, yellow for the main helmet section. Getting to the chest here, I think it looks really cool with that Wrecker Autobot symbol there done in blue, with the 93 done in red, with lots of yellow for the rest of the chest and these nice red stripes and that blue on the chest as well. Getting to the arms, mostly done in yellow with some black for the elbow and some black for the hands as well. Getting down to the rest of here, I really do like this nice glossy blue they use for the crotch / legs. That looks pretty good and nice and shiny and reflective. Overall looks very nice. And of course on the back he's overall very clean. Of course we do have the wheels there and there, a little bit of kibble on the legs, but really doesn't bother me too much. Of course this is just a direct repaint, slight remold of the Kingdom Mirage, which I will bring out in just a second for comparison, but that's pretty much it for details. Let's now get into articulations. The head can move up and side to side. Of course the arm can move out and in. It can move all the way around. Of course there is a swivel at the elbow, also an elbow bend. No hand rotation. There is also, of course, a waist swivel. The leg can kick that far out, of course, that far forward, and that far back. There is a swivel at the leg, and of course, a knee bend, and an ankle pivot. And that's pretty much it for articulation. Very standard for a deluxe size figure. Let's now, of course, get into the accessories. They're the exact same ones that came with Mirage, and of course there is the same complete that a lot of people do have. Unfortunately, the missile launcher piece does not, or was not able to attach to the shoulder, which I think is kind of silly that was ever a design flaw in the first place. I'm not really sure why they did that with Mirage or this figure, but here it is, and overall it looks pretty cool. Quite a bit of black. Of course, there's a whole scope there, and you can actually remove the missile piece, which is done in that the same glossy blue as the legs, which looks pretty cool. And you can store this in the hands, which does look nice there, but I really would have preferred to store on the shoulder like Mirage typically did in the old cartoon. And he also does come with a machine gun, or AK-47 rifle, which looks pretty cool. Got the magazine clip, of course, the scope there, the barrel, and overall looks pretty nice, done in that same simple black. And you can just store this in his hands, which overall looks pretty cool. So there we got his accessories. There is another way you can store them. I'm not really sure if this was intentional, but there is actually a port on the back. So if you want to, you can actually plug the rifle in place. You can have one stored on his back, and of course one stored in his hands at the same time. If you don't want to, of course, clutter both hands with both weapons, you can do that if you want to. But that's pretty much it for accessories. I'm going to quickly take the AK-47, put that in his hand. That's pretty much it for accessories. Let's now get into some comparisons. So here he is with the Kingdom Mirage. As you can see, of course, mold-wise, they're very similar. I think the only change, of course, is the head sculpt. The rest of it, the accessories are the same, really just down to a major deco change. And honestly, of the two, I have to like Leadfoot more. Really, when I got this pack, my main interest was definitely Master Domus, but getting this figure, I actually really do like him. Probably my favorite version of the Kingdom / Siege Mirage mold so far. I think it looks really cool. Just that head sculpt really makes a world of difference. But mold-wise, they are pretty much the exact same thing, just that head sculpt. But overall looks pretty cool. Next to each other, just getting a back view. pretty much everything ends up at the same place, and overall looks pretty cool. So let me quickly take the Kingdom Mirage off to the side. I can bring out the Siege Mirage. So the difference between these two is actually a big difference. Of course, the accessories are the same, but there is quite a bit of mold change really where the chest, the head, and the shoulder pieces are concerned. There's quite a bit of change. Really where the legs are concerned, it's pretty much exactly the same thing. Of course, the feet, the wheels both store on the back, as you can see. The arms are quite similar, really. It's just those shoulder pieces. But just getting a side view, as you can see. Fortunately, sometimes the Leadfoot does not want to stand. There we go. And just getting a back view, as you can see, quite a bit of everything really stores the same way. The wheels are both in the same area on the back of the legs and the back. And overall, looking pretty cool. And I have to say the same, Leadfoot is definitely my favorite between the Siege and Kingdom. He just looks really cool. Just the deco and the new head sculpt really makes a world of difference. And just quickly bringing out the Halo Mirage from the Amazon exclusive 3 pack. Those two are the same thing, of course, except that head sculpt is different. And yeah, I still feel the same. I do like, of course, the solid blue Mirage. It looks pretty cool. Blue is my favorite color, so that could be a bias sort of thing, but overall looking pretty cool next to each other. I'm just going to scoot them all down so I can bring out every Mirage or Mirage version of this mold I have. Here we got the Kingdom, and there we have all 4 together. I think they did make a Netflix one, but I never able to get that. But I'm content with these 4 right here. And I wouldn't mind if they made another version. Maybe they could finally improve that whole shoulder situation, because these 2 Siege ones, they can actually store the missile launcher on their shoulder, which was a nice feature. And I wish, of course, they kept it with these 2 modern-day Kingdom versions. Unfortunately, they took that out. I'm not really sure why. But overall, look pretty cool next to each other. That's pretty much it for comparisons for the mold. Let me just quickly get some legacy comparisons, and then, of course, we'll get into transfer. Now, for one final comparison, here we have Master Dominus and Leadfoot, of course, his packmates. I have to say, probably of all 5 packs of the Wreck and Roll collection, this has to be my favorite. And definitely when going into this pack, my, of course, most excitement for the figure was definitely Master Dominus, because I love the whole mammoth elephant kind of fossilizer vibe to it. That was really cool and interested me. And, of course, Leadfoot was a cool figure. I did like the Mirage mold, but I was definitely not, of course, the most excited for it. But I am definitely pleasantly surprised. I love the blue and yellow. It really just makes the figure really great. So, let me know in the comment section down below what is your favorite pack of the Wreck and Roll collection. And if you haven't already seen it, I actually did do a short showing off the whole artwork box complete. If you get all 5 packs, you can connect all their boxes and make one big artwork. So if you want to see that, go watch that short after this. I also did show, of course, my whole display of the Wreck and Roll collection together, which is pretty cool. So make sure you go see that after this review. Let's now move into the transformation into the race car mode. So what you're going to want to do is disconnect the whole shoulder section from the main body. So you just pull this whole assembly up. Do the same thing, of course, at the other arm. So you just pull this whole assembly up like that. You can then hinge these whole fin pieces forward like this. You can then fold in the hands like that. Do the same thing, of course, for the other arm. Then we can go around here and hinge the whole upper torso piece up like that. You can then bring this whole section down. You can then bring the wheels out like this, and then you can fold in the head like that, which can take some force. And then, of course, there is a tab and a slot. Just close that up, and there we go. Now we can go to the legs. So what you're going to want to do is hinge both legs in like this, and then what you're going to want to do is bring the whole leg piece up. You can then fold in the foot, get the whole wheel section. You're going to hinge this out. So just bring this up like that. And there we go. Bring the wheel piece out like this. And of course, do the same thing on the other side. Just bring this whole assembly out. Fold in the foot. Bring the whole wheel piece around like this. Bring this whole assembly up, which can take a bit of fiddling. And then you're just going to tab these together like that. And then what you're going to want to do is get the whole arm section, hinge this up like that, hinge these down, and then both arms, of course, will tab together. There's tabs at the fin and, of course, tabs at the arm like this, and you can just tab both of these together and of course just get everything nice and secure. And there we have Leadfoot in his really cool looking race car mode. Let's take a look at the Leadfoot in his really cool looking race car mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very front, of course. Some nice red for that 93 with some yellow at this front fin section. I also really do like all these individual pistons connecting to the wheel, which is done in black and silver. Unfortunately, you can see the mushroom peg, which is kind of ugly and unfortunate, but not too bad. We have this nice glossy blue on this side. It's looking very cool. You can actually kind of pick out a steering wheel there done in red with some blue for the seat. Overall looking pretty cool with some black right there. Of course, getting to the very back section, of course, this same wheel is done again just a little bit bigger, and again you can see the mushroom peg, which is unfortunate. We have some nice yellow there, and we have the back fin section here looking very cool with some nice red and yellow. Of course, we have the 93 and the stripes there. Overall looking very cool, and on the back, overall pretty clean, and on the bottom, overall pretty clean. You can actually see the robot mode chest, but not bad, and actually does roll pretty well, and overall a really cool looking race car. Let's now get into, of course, the accessory storage. So it does come with the two accessories, which really can just store on the side. Of course, there is a port and a peg, and you just plug that into place like that, and of course same for the other side, and you can just plug it in like that. Unfortunately, if you do have the missile piece sticking down with that peg, it does kind of rub against it, so if you want to, you can actually hinge that out to the side a little bit if you want to, if that bothers you and you don't want any paint chips or anything. But overall, storage-wise, looks pretty cool on the race car. Let's now get in one quick race car comparison. Here he is with Kingdom Mirage. And I think these two race cars look pretty cool next to each other. And actually, just thinking about it, it is kind of unfortunate that this Kingdom Mirage mold is so hard to find, because both of these are actually Amazon exclusives, which is kind of unfortunate. This was the Battle Across Time pack, and of course this was the Wreck and Rule collection pack. So a very hard to come by mold, which is kind of unfortunate. But overall, two pretty cool looking race cars. Again, I have to prefer the Leadfoot, because I really don't like how both accessories are just plain gray. It looks kind of unfinished and incomplete in my opinion, but overall looks pretty cool next to each other. Let me know between the two, the Kingdom Mirage or the Legacy Wreck and Roll Collection Leadfoot, which one do you like more in the comment section down below. That's pretty much it for the alt mode. Let's now get into the final thoughts. For the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Wreck and Roll Collection Autobot G2 Universe Leadfoot, I think overall this figure is pretty good. Starting in the race car mode, I actually really do like the storage for the accessories. You know, it is a race car, and there's a big machine gun and a big missile launcher, so there's really not that many places you can actually store it where it looks good. I think it works. I think these accessories do look way better in the black and blue deco than the Kingdom Mirage. Those were just done in gray, and it looked kind of incomplete and boring, so I'm really glad they painted these this time. I also really do like the yellow, blue, and red mixture. It actually looks super cool. Unfortunately, of course, the wheels, you can't see the mushroom peg. I really wish they were painted and, of course, not as visible, but that's a minor complaint. I also really do like the glossy blue on the sides. Of course, those are actually the front of the legs, and it looks really good in the robot mode as well. Transformation-wise, it's actually pretty straightforward. If you have the Kingdom Mirage, which, of course, that figure came out several months ago, about last year, so if you have that figure, you know exactly what to do with this one. Same transformation, and of course, it does come with the instructions, so if you need a refresher, you can just use those. I actually did need them, and after the first time using them, I got it down pretty easy. Getting into the robot mode, of course, pretty standard articulation, same as the previous Mirage, and pretty standard for a deluxe. Like the accessories again, unfortunately, you cannot store the missile launcher on the shoulder. I know a lot of people complain about that. I'm never really sure why they took that out of the Mirage figure in the first place. It was part of the Siege version, and of course, the Netflix one and the Halo Mirage from the Amazon exclusive pack, but they just took it out for the Kingdom one. I'm not really sure why. But it does still store pretty cool in his hand, and it's also really nice. I'm not sure if this was their intention, but if you don't want him to hold both accessories, you can actually store one on his back, and it actually looks super cool and poses in stop motions. I actually did do a stop motion on this guy, but probably by the time you're watching this review, it should be out on the channel, so make sure you go check that out after this video. Overall, the robot mode looks really cool, like the glossy blue, good articulation, brand new head sculpt. Honestly, I think it makes a world of difference. Honestly, this is definitely my favorite version of this mold so far, of course, including the Kingdom Mirage and the several versions of the Siege Mirage mold as well. Let me know, of course, of this mold, which one is your favorite. Do you like this character? Do you like this figure at all? Which one is your favorite, this one or the Kingdom Mirage? Definitely this one's my favorite. And of course, stay tuned for the Master Dominus review coming very soon. That's pretty much it, so I'll see you next time.